Also, Tea Party now has become much more proactive. And I'd like to thank the leaders of this Tea Party, because unlike most of the Tea Parties out there, they're not pushing the candidates like these guys are. And believe me, guys like me and David, that means the world to us. It really does. Because Tea Party has been flexing their muscles pretty good lately. And right now, they think Tea Party is not active. They think just because we're not at town halls making noise, that we're no longer functioning, that we're no longer effective. But I got a little surprise for them in November. Yeah. Because what's going on right now is exactly what these great people are doing here. They're gathering together some very important forces, and they're starting to focus on the candidates that's going to change the country for the better. Now, you guys were talking about Wisconsin and Scott Walker. I'm a union man, and I agree 100%. You know, I am private union construction, and in private construction, we pay our own benefits. The state doesn't pay any of our benefits whatsoever. Whatever we put in our compensation package is stuff that we bled and sweat for. And it's just like the free market system. Just like all of you people in the private sector. And I'm not putting down anybody in the public sector. God knows we love you guys. And we need, you know, there's certain areas of government that we just need. But right now, the growth of it has become so obscene. All this tax and overregulation is just smothering free market and entrepreneurialism. And that is the very foundation of what this country got strong on. Now, I want to thank David. I met David when we got this little romance going on, as you can see. But David, he and I met when I was fighting the Ground Zero Mosque. And situation to me that meant a lot. You know, I was a 9/11 survivor and responder. And I lost somebody very dear in those attacks that awful day. As a matter of fact, I used to be an athlete, and I gave up sports, and I concentrated wholly on what's going on in this country, and how did we get here. And right now, all my energies and focus has been right there, because we all care about our family, the next generation. Ronald Reagan said, you know, this freedom we have, this just isn't grandfathered in. We have to do our share. We have to fight and keep it alive so the next generation can enjoy it, and then in turn do their share, do their fight. Because freedom comes at a cost. And we need all you guys right now. Now, here was an area of time where the Obama administration just rammed stimulus down our throat. Remember that? On a party line, just smoked us right out. And they were feeling pretty good about themselves. They had the supermajorities. They could do just about anything. They were on their way to Obamacare. And they said, you know what? Let's put a mosque right down at Ground Zero. Let's see how far we can push these people. And you know what? We pushed back. Right. As you know, only a sparse few politicians stood with us. Congressman Pete King, who was a hero to me. He was the only guy, the only New York rep that was sticking by us. And I went down to the Landmarks Commission because we thought that this building that they wanted to destroy, we thought it was an American piece of Americana, a historic building. Nobody knew that the landing gear of that plane, before it hit Tower 1, actually went through the Burlington Coat Factory roof and shattered several of the landings. So there was a reason they picked that building to buy. Because the radical Islam is saturated with symbolism. And for them to take this building and level it and build this 16-story spear looking right down at that crater of death, to them that was their victory dance on the graves of those 3,000 souls. And let me tell you, that death number goes up every day because there's still people suffering and dying terrible illnesses from the cleanup and the afterwards. I was on the bucket brigade for a few weeks and I couldn't take it. I was going home bleeding, and the atmosphere was so accurate back then, you could not breathe properly and you knew something was wrong. Yet those workers stayed there and they dug us out and they dug up whatever remains they could. That's why I fought this so hard. But on that day, during the landmarks hearing, now here's a piece of land that's been in contention for landmark status for almost 20 years. And now, all of a sudden, because they want to build a mosque, the doors are opening. Everybody's having a vote all of a sudden as to its status. So the 9 commissioners, all Bloomberg-picked commissioners, are up on this stage. And people are trying to say, you know, this building has a lot of significance. We should really look at this from a historical standpoint. This isn't a religious thing. This is something that has to do with our nation and our, you know, something very near and dear to us. Every single one of those commissioners voted to destroy that building. And on the last vote, you could hear the howls of pain coming from our side. And I remember listening to this couple who, there was this old guy and he had his wife in his arms and the two of them were trembling. And I seen in the man's hand, he had a crumpled up picture of his firefighter son. And it was laminated and it looked like it'd been to 100 protests. And as she was sobbing, he looked right at me and I read his lips and I could see it right in his face. Don't let them do this to my boy. And then I turn to my left and I see guys jumping up and down, giving high fives, screaming, yelling, joyous occasion. They had won. I went home devastated. I didn't know what to do. But on my way home, I just happened to be listening to the radio. And luck so has it, I managed to get through to Rush Limbaugh.
Wow.
So I'm on the radio with Rush Limbaugh, and I said, big guy, you got to help me out. I said, I started this group. It's called the 9/11 Hard Hats. And we're standing together. We're a bunch of union construction workers. Oh, there's somebody who knows me. All right. All right, thank you. So I told them my situation. I said, I'm getting all these union construction workers together, and they're pledging not to work this site. And it's smack right in the middle of Uniontown construction. You know, no private company is going to go there and build it. Or else it would be a very toxic environment, I assure you. So, sure enough, after he put me on the air with him for that brief period of time, just a couple of minutes, all of a sudden the pledges were coming in from all over the country. People were coming from Texas, California, Florida, Ireland, England, France. I could not believe it. We were having these protests, and even though the mainstream media wasn't covering it, it was having an impact. You know, and it was right then and there I realized something. I was a cynic, no more. This American system of ours works. It truly does. I had an argument with a guy today. I was asking about his elections. He was like, it doesn't matter. Who's ever in power, they're going to do what they want. I says, you know what? They are going to do what they want if you let them stay in office. If you punish those elected officials when they do wrong, then you kick them out. After a while, that gets around. And people don't want to lose these cushy jobs because these guys hit the lottery. You know how they're living. They're not dealing with the strife we're dealing with. These guys are living in their own private little biosphere. And I'll tell you right now, politics is local. Everything starts in a local level. They might say, oh, you know, this is a state race. I don't think you people know how important David's race is. You want to talk about a balance of power. This is going to be incredible. This is going to be that final stick that breaks the DNC. That's how important this race is. Now, I'm going to give David every bit of help I can give him. And I'm going to be right, you know, because he has a special election, March 20th. The man doesn't have much time. And like he said, just having a force out there on the ground, ringing bells, making phone calls, stuffing envelopes. I was stuffing envelopes the other day. Having a great time. Hanging out with a bunch of guys, laughing, having pizza. And you know what? You get a good feeling. You feel like you're contributing to the cause. You know, and the people over there are beautiful people. You know, I fell in love with the Russian people when they came over to this country and we had to fight them. We ended up killing each other and then going out and having a party afterwards. So I have a special place for my Russian counterparts. I really do. But in November next year, I'll be running for the city council, and it is a very, very heavily democratically favored incumbent, and it's a 2-to-1 margin. And I just hope that you guys are there. And God bless you. God bless the Tea Party.